Chapter 1. Being Framed. Help! A woman's cry attracted the pack members around the area. They were terrified to see two figures falling from the high cliff. They recognized the two figures. One of them was Sophia, the former's alpha mate, and the other was Charlotte, the current alpha's mate. Both of them plunged toward the sea below the cliff. Charlotte felt the cold seawater enveloping her body, and she nearly drowned due to swallowing the seawater. Luckily, pack members began to rescue them. Hayden, who was patrolling around the area, naturally heard the cries too. He quickly went to the scene and saw Sophia, who was bleeding profusely. "Charlotte, I know you're jealous of my relationship with Hayden, but there really is nothing going on between us. Why did you push me off the cliff?" Sophia's weak voice sounded before she passed out. Hearing Sophia's words, Hayden was furious, and he looked angrily at Charlotte. Charlotte herself had sustained injuries from her fall. Her arms were scratched by the rocks on the sea, leaving a long gash, and her forehead was also knocked on a small rock. But Hayden took no notice of her. "That pretentious bitch! Tell them the truth, Charlotte." Charlotte's wolf, Lexi, growled. "Hayden, I can explain." Charlotte tried hard to say those words despite the pain all over her body. Hayden sneered. "Explain? Everyone saw what had happened and heard Sophia's words." "But she pushed." Charlotte frantically tried to explain what really happened. "Enough. If there's something wrong with her and her baby, I'll punish you personally." Hayden cut her off and said harshly as he picked Sophia in his arms and ran toward the pack's infirmary. At that time, Charlotte knew there was no use for her to tell the truth. No one would believe her, not even her own mate. Her heart hurt as if it was being stabbed by multiple knives, and yet she couldn't do anything about it. This wasn't the first time she was framed by Sophia and Mila, Hayden's younger sister. And just like today, he never asked her about what happened. He always listened to their side of the story and blamed her for everything. 3 years of being mated and married to him, she always tried her best to make Sophia and Mila happy, knowing how much they meant to Hayden. Yet they kept treating her like an omega. Sometimes even worse, she had to serve them all the time. Charlotte knew the reason for it. They thought she was just an orphan she-wolf and not on par with Hayden, the ruthless alpha of the third largest pack, the Red Claw Pack. They thought she didn't deserve to be the Luna of the pack due to her background. To be Hayden's mate, she purposely cut ties with her family to ensure Hayden wouldn't know her real identity. She just wanted to be his mate and serve him like a good Luna. Sometimes she thought, would it make a difference if they knew about her real background? But she didn't want them to know. She wanted Hayden to love her for her, not her as the powerful alpha in line. Because of that, she had endured every insult, humiliation and abuse from Sophia and Mila, yet she still served them as a good sister-in-law. She didn't tell Hayden about it as they were Hayden's family, and she always humbled herself in front of them. Hayden became the Red Claw Pack's alpha when his brother died, leaving Sophia as a widow and pregnant with his child. Charlotte was over the moon when she met him and knew he was her mate. But who could have thought that Sophia, the widow of Hayden's late brother, was more important than Charlotte? Ever since Hayden claimed Charlotte as his mate and married her, he seldom cared for her. Instead, he spent more time with Sophia. He was even more protective of Sophia. Everyone could see the way he treated Sophia, and there were rumors that Hayden was in love with her. Charlotte's mind was in a mess, and her body drenched. Her arm and forehead were bleeding. It took her every effort just to stand up. Luckily, Noah, the beta of the pack, was kind enough to help Charlotte. He supported her to go to the infirmary to treat her wounds. "Thank you, Noah," Charlotte said with gratitude as they walked slowly toward the infirmary. Charlotte kept thinking if she had told Hayden of her real identity, would he believe her instead of Sophia? Should she tell him the truth? "You need to tell him the truth," Lexi ground to remind her. Even her wolf hated Sophia and Hayden. But would he believe her? As Hayden said, there were many witnesses. When Sophia jumped back from the cliff, she grabbed her hand to pull her along. But for onlookers, it looked like what Sophia had described. Charlotte's hand was on Sophia's chest, and she had no doubt it looked like she was pushing Sophia. And Sophia was just trying not to fall when she reached for Charlotte's hand. But unfortunately, she was pulled along, and they both fell into the sea. Charlotte had to admit that Sophia was the master of scheming. Thinking of the blood flowing from the bottom part of Sophia's body, Charlotte knew there might be a huge chance that she would miscarry, and this wouldn't be good for her. "I'm going to punish you personally." Hayden's harsh words ran in Charlotte's mind again. "You still need to try to explain," Lexi groaned. "I wanted to explain, but he didn't want to listen to me." I told her. "Try explaining again," she groaned. Charlotte knew Lexi was angry with what Sophia had done. Charlotte was hoping that her mate would believe her, but she had little doubt about it. After staggering slowly, with the help of Noah, they finally reached the infirmary. Before she was able to see a doctor about her wounds, she was summoned by Hayden through their mind link. "Come straight to Sophia's ward." His cold voice sent shivers down Charlotte's spine, yet she had no courage to disobey him. Her legs moved slowly toward Sophia's ward, and somehow she had a foreboding feeling as she got closer to her destination. If Hayden was always on Sophia's side all this time, would he believe her just this once? She prayed to the moon goddess that he would believe her, at least just this once. Standing in front of Sophia's ward, Charlotte took a deep breath before pushing the door open, only to be greeted by Hayden's cold gaze. Chapter 2. Kneel and Apologize. Charlotte's point of view. Hayden's cold gaze froze me in my spot. It didn't help that I was still drenched, and the cold on my body hadn't subsided. His gaze made me feel even colder, as if I was once again submerged in icy water. "Stay there," he commanded harshly. He didn't care that the blood on my arms and forehead was dripping down, tinting the white floor of the ward with red splotches of blood. Sophia was lying on the bed, looking pale and weak, and the doctor was examining her. There were nurses, the Gamma couples, and some pack members gathered outside the ward. I could hear the murmuring of the pack members outside the ward. "I can't believe the Luna dared to push Sophia down the cliff. Who would have thought that she was so heartless? Isn't it obvious that she was jealous? The Alpha favored Sophia more than the Luna. She must have thought Sophia was a threat and wanted to kill her." Hearing their hurtful remarks and looking at the accusing gazes of everyone in the room, I felt myself going pale. I clenched my t-shirt tightly and bit my lips. It hurt. "I'm sorry, but we couldn't save your baby," the doctor said after checking and putting Sophia on the drip. The doctor's words seemed to be like a death sentence to me. Sophia began crying hysterically. Why must this happen to me? I've lost my mate, and now I lost the only gift he left me. I've lost our baby." Sophia's wail was very heartbreaking. If I didn't know the truth, I might even be moved to tears by her performance of being a heartbroken widow who had lost her child. Charlotte! Hayden's sister Milla suddenly approached me and raised her hand high, giving me a slap on the cheek. I wasn't expecting it and couldn't stop her or dodge it. My mate just looked at us coldly with no intention of stopping his sister. Are you happy now? She glared at me. You have killed her baby. You're very vicious of pushing her off the cliff. Kneel and apologize to her. I looked at Hayden and tried to explain. Hayden, I can explain. Hayden sneered. What can you explain? That you viciously pushed her off the cliff and jumped with her, so everyone thinks that you are also a victim? But she pushed herself down the cliff and pulled me along. I tried to explain what really happened frantically. Do you think everyone is stupid and blind? Why would Sophia jump off the cliff when it's dangerous for her condition? Hayden snarled. But I really didn't push her. I kept trying to defend myself and told him the truth. Enough! Hayden roared, and his alpha aura rolled off his body, making everyone, including me, cower in fear. Stop lying and trying to slander Sophia. You have killed my brother's baby. Kneel and apologize to Sophia just like Milla had said, he said coldly. His words made me freeze in my spot again. Why wouldn't he believe me? Why would he believe someone else's words but not his mate's? Was it true that he was in love with Sophia? I didn't even want to apologize to Sophia, much less kneel. For my mate to ask me to do those two things was humiliating, and it angered me. I'm not going to kneel or apologize. I didn't do anything wrong. I growled. If you don't kneel and apologize, I will dissolve our mate bond, he said indifferently. I froze again. He would terminate our mateship because of Sophia? Bastard, Lexi growled. Hayden, you're too much. I yelled at him. I'm the Luna of the pack, and I will never kneel in front of anyone, and no one can force me to. It's in the pack's rule. The pack's rules? Hayden snorted. I straightened my back and lifted my chain. It's stated that no one can force a Luna to kneel or apologize for something she didn't do. To my surprise, Hayden laughed. Charlotte, do you think, as the Luna of the pack, you can do anything freely and not apologize for your wrongdoings? He mocked me. It seems to me you have been abusing your power as the Luna of the pack. He stood up and came to stand before me. Reaching out his hand, he pinched my chain forcefully. And to let you know, I was the one who made those rules, and as the maker of the rules, I'm now telling you to kneel and apologize to Sophia. He snarled. From the corners of my eyes, I saw Milla had a gleeful expression, and Sophia had a triumphant smile. You believe someone else's words rather than your mate? I, stupidly, still thought that I could make him believe me instead of that bitch, Sophia. Enough, Charlotte. No matter how many times you try to deny it, the evidence is clear. Everyone saw what you did. He released my chain forcefully, and I staggered back a few steps from the force. You really don't believe me. I felt my heart turning cold. There really was no use in defending myself now. I looked at Sophia and saw her looking weak and pitiful once again, with tears streaming down her face. Hey, Sophia really was a good actress. I don't like to repeat my words, Charlotte. Kneel and apologize, or I will break our mate bond and divorce you, Hayden said coldly. I will never kneel or apologize for something I didn't do. I sat stubbornly and left the hospital without turning to look at Sophia, Mila, or even Hayden. Charlotte! Hayden rolled out my name, but I ignored him and kept walking toward the pack's main house, where I lived with Hayden as the alpha and Luna of the pack. Just as I stepped into the hall, I heard the screech of a car. I turned around to see a fuming Hayden. Charlotte, are you still unwilling to kneel and apologize? He asked with narrowed eyes. I've told you before. I won't kneel or apologize for something I didn't do, I told him coldly. Guards, he yelled before I could say anything further. 2 guards appeared out of nowhere and seized my arms. Make her kneel, Hayden commanded. Chapter 3. Disappointed in him. Charlotte's point of view. My eyes widened in disbelief. I couldn't believe that Hayden would do this to his own mate. I struggled as the guards pulled me toward the door. Once outside, they pushed down my shoulders. As a future alpha, my strength was not ordinary. I could withstand their forces and kept standing upright. Hayden was looking at me with cold eyes and not saying anything. Seeing that the guards could not make me kneel, he came to us and kicked the back of my knees. I was shocked and wasn't prepared for it. My knees buckled under me, and he successfully made me kneel on the ground with his kick. Kneel here and think of what you have done, he said coldly before telling the guards to ensure I kept kneeling. He then turned around and entered the house once again, slamming the door shut behind him. The guards kept their hands on my shoulders, pushing me down and disabling me to stand up. This was the first time in my life I felt so humiliated, and the one who humiliated me was my own mate. I felt rage course through every nerve of my body. I couldn't believe my mate was so heartless. Fucking bastard, Lexi cursed. I agreed with her. Hayden was a fucking bastard. The wind blowing strongly around me didn't help. I felt so cold that my body shivered until my teeth chattered. I hadn't changed from my wet clothes, and my wounds hadn't been cleaned and bandaged. After Goddess knew how many hours of kneeling, Hayden finally came out. Hayden, I still had hopes that he would listen to me, but his next words wiped away all my hopes. Have you thought about what you have done? Are you ready to apologize to Sophia? He cut off my words coldly. Hayden, is this how you treat your mate? I asked through gritted teeth. Mate? He laughed. Do you think I care about you being my mate? For me, a mate is just a stepping stone to become stronger. An alpha needs a Luna to make them and their pack stronger, he said coldly. I gasped and felt all my blood drained from my body. You never care about me? You never love me? Love? He sneered and looked at me as if I was a clown. I only claimed you as my mate and married you to save the trouble of my pack not having a Luna. I looked at him and felt my heart breaking. 3 years. 3 years of being his mate and his Luna. 3 years of trying hard to be the perfect Luna for him, and that was all I was to him. A mean to save trouble and a stepping stone to become stronger? Are you willing to admit your mistake? He asked impatiently. I lifted my chain stubbornly. Never. Then, kneel until you admit your mistake. He spat and turned back to go into his house again. Alpha! Suddenly Beta Noah appeared. Sophia is awake, and she's been crying non-stop. What? Has the doctor seen her yet? Hayden asked anxiously. She's hysterical and didn't let anyone come near her, Beta Noah reported. All right, I will go to the hospital now, Hayden said. He then turned to me and said, Don't make any trouble anymore, or you will know the consequences. After warning me, he left in a hurry with Beta Noah. The two guards followed them as they were Hayden's personal guards. I let out a bitter laugh. How stupid was I to think that mates should fall in love with each other? After hearing his words, I had no hopes for Hayden anymore. All I felt was disappointment. I tried to stand up, despite my legs being numb from kneeling for too long. I reached out and touched the walls for support and walked slowly toward our bedroom. Are you going to leave that bastard? Lexi asked as I was changing my clothes. Yes. Is it okay with you? I asked her. I knew serving the mate bond hurt so much for me, but especially for Lexi. I didn't know how it affected Lexi. I'd rather you leave him than stay mated with him, Lexi growled. Won't it affect you? I asked. It will. It will hurt for a while, but I'll manage. I want you to be happy, Charlotte, she said. Her words nearly made me cry. Lexi was the only one who cared for me in the 3 years of being married to Hayden. All right, don't cry now. She tried to comfort me. What's your next plan? Leave here and go back to the Moon Crest Pack, I told her and began packing my stuff. Good, she said, and I could feel how proud she was of me for taking this bold action. After I finished packing, I dragged my suitcase and went out without anyone noticing. Everyone was either busy cooking nutritious meals for Sophia in the kitchen or going to the hospital to take care of her. How ironic, I thought. He let everyone take care of someone who wasn't his mate, while no one cared for his mate who was injured. Looking at the starless night sky, I felt tears staying in my eyes again. 3 years of trying to be his perfect mate went down the drain because of another female. I began walking toward the pack's border while dragging my suitcase. The wind began to howl, and I shivered again because of the cold. Charlotte, don't you want to go to the hospital to get your wounds treated first? Lexi asked anxiously. And meet those bitches? No, thank you, I answered, and Lexi stopped talking. The more I walked, the weaker I felt. My breathing became heavier, my wounds began to throb, and I felt my vision began to blur. Charlotte, let's go to the hospital first. Lexi's anxious voice sounded in my mind. My body swayed, and I fell to the ground, feeling all my energy drained. I couldn't even move an inch of my body. I felt darkness start to pull me in. What should I do? An image popped into my mind, and I struggled mightily to open up a mind link I hadn't used for the last 3 years. Charlotte? A man asked in disbelief once our mind link opened up. Leo, help me. Pick me up at the Red Cloud Pack's border, I said with much difficulty before succumbing to the darkness. Chapter 4. I don't love him anymore. Charlotte's point of view. My eyes fluttered open, and the first thing I saw was a clean white ceiling. Charlotte, you're awake. I heard a female's relieved voice. I turned my head and saw my best friend Olivia, sitting on a chair beside my bed. Olivia, where am I? I asked with a hoarse voice. You're in the Pack's hospital, she replied and brought me a glass of water. Which Pack? I asked with worry. My Pack, the Silent Prowler's Pack, she said. I heaved out a sigh of relief. At least I was somewhere familiar. I took a sip of the water she gave me and asked, "Who brought me here?" I had no recollection whatsoever. The last thing I remembered was passing out near the Red Claw Pack's border. "Did Leo bring me here?" I asked her as I remembered mind-linking Leo, my beta. "Yup, after you mind-linked him, he became frantic and rushed out to search for you," she said. "Then what happened?" I asked. "He said he found you unconscious on the side of the road and quickly brought you here since it's the closest to the Red Claw Pack," Olivia explained. "What's wrong with me? Why did I faint?" "You had a fever and were injured," she said. "Fever? Must be because I was drenched and forced to kneel under strong wind." "Sure, what happened?" she asked. "What do you mean?" I pretended not to know what she meant. "Why did you come back after 3 years of no news?" She looked at me with her huge eyes, and I saw some hesitancy in them. "I'm going to break my mate bond with Hayden," I told her nonchalantly. To my surprise, she didn't look shocked. "Is it because of the rumor?" she asked. "Rumor? What rumor?" "The whole continent heard about you pushing Sophia Thompson off the cliff because of jealousy, and she miscarried because of it," she said, and it was apparent she was embarrassed to say those words to me. I laughed. "The whole continent knows?" "Yeah, and the members of the Red Claw Pack said you're not fit to be their Luna." I smirked. "That bitch sure moves fast." "What do you mean?" she asked, obviously confused. "Do you believe the rumor?" I asked her. It had been 3 years since I last saw and contacted her. Would she believe the rumor more than she believed me? She rolled her eyes. "Of course not. I know you. You wouldn't do that even if you were jealous. You most probably would slap Hayden for not believing you." I was relieved that someone at least believed me. I told her everything that happened that day, how Sophia framed me, how Hayden believed her, and asked me to kneel until I'd admitted my mistake. I also told her how Mila and Sophia had been treating me like an Omega instead of a Luna for the last 3 years I was in Red Claw Pack, including how Hayden was only using me and preferred Sophia. "Those bitches and that bastard Hayden. If he doesn't love you, he should have rejected you and not used you like that," Olivia said angrily. "That bitch Sophia must have asked people to spread the rumor," she continued, still fuming. I was amused looking at how her expressions and emotions changed so fast, from relief, hesitant, embarrassment, confusion, and now anger. "Are you okay, Shar?" she asked with concern. "I'm fine, don't worry about me," I assured her. "Are you really going to break your mate bond with Hayden?" She looked at me as if she didn't believe I could do it. "You don't believe that I can do it?" I feigned shock. "It's not that," she said embarrassedly. "It's just, I know how much you love Hayden. You even left your pack and everything else behind just to be with him." "I don't love him anymore," I told her indifferently. My love for him had disappeared the moment he forced me to kneel and asked me to admit my mistakes. "Really? That's good. He doesn't deserve your love," she said and let out a sigh of relief. "Shouldn't you feel sad for me? I'm going to sever my mate bond, you know," I teased her. "It's better not to have a mate rather than to have a bastard as a mate," she said as she rolled her eyes. I laughed hearing her words. What she said was true. I must be blind to stay with a bastard like Hayden for 3 years, while he spent more time with another woman and cared more for that woman. Suddenly, we heard some whispering outside the ward. "Have you heard about the Luna of the Red Claw Pack?" a female voice asked. "She pushed her sister-in-law off the cliff and caused her to miscarry." She's so vicious, another female answered her. They kept gossiping until their voice faded out and disappeared. Those bitches. Olivia stood up and was going to reprimand them, but I stopped her. Don't do anything, I told her. Why did you stop me? I'm going to give everyone, especially that bitch Sophia and that son of a bitch Hayden, a piece of my mind. Olivia seized. Don't do anything, I repeated calmly. I'm going to ask your dad and brother to deal with them. They should know you are the next alpha of the Moon Crest Pack. Let's see if they still dare to say bad things about you. Olivia was so angry she didn't seem to hear my words as she kept trying to make everything right for me. I was thankful for her, but I didn't need anyone to stand up for me. Olivia, I called her sternly, and this time she returned to her sense. I'm so angry, she said as she sat down again. How are you so calm? Don't worry, I already have prepared a gift for the Red Claw Pack and Hayden. I smirked. A gift? What gift are you going to give them? What are you going to do to him? Tell me, she asked with excitement. Chapter 5. Break the mate bond. Charlotte's point of view. I laughed, seeing her excitement. You'll know when the time comes, I smirked. Oh, come on, Char. I'm your best friend. You should tell me about this gift you have prepared for them. She tried to fish out information from me, but I wouldn't budge. Don't worry, it's gonna be a big gift. I smirked again, thinking how they would react after receiving my gift. So you won't tell me? You're so bad, she complained and pouted. I laughed and patted her head. Olivia was different from me. While I was tall and slender, she was petite with huge innocent eyes, just like a child. But never be deceived by her appearance. She was impulsive and a powerful she-wolf. She could punch a hole in a wall with her bare fist. Even I didn't dare to be near her when she was angry. Well, the most important thing now is to break my mate bond with Hayden. I changed the subject. Do you know how to do it? I had no idea how to do it. Should I just reject him? But it wouldn't sever the mate bond. It'd be just like any other rejection. Char, are you really sure you want to break the mate bond? It would be different than a normal rejection, she said thoughtfully. I know, I answered her firmly. I don't care about Hayden or the Red Claw Pack anymore. You know I'm going to be the alpha of the Moon Crest Pack. Why should I care about them? I'm going to be even more powerful than Hayden and his pack. She scrutinized me to see if there was any doubt in my eyes, but I had made up my mind. Once she saw that I was adamant about doing it, she sighed. So, do you know how to do it? I asked her again. She was hesitant but nodded in the end. I heard you need to pray to the moon goddess together with Hayden and reject each other at the same time. It sounds easy, I said lightly. Char, the breaking of mate bond might break your soul and Lexi, she said as she looked at me with despair. I looked at her and asked, do you want me to stay with him? Keep being abused by his family and Sophia and be unhappy? She looked down at her hands that were holding mine. It's not that. I just don't want you to be soulless. I laughed hearing her words. Olivia, thank you for your concern. But me and Lexi are stronger than you think. We've been best friends for so long. Do you think I will become weak after simple rejection? She finally looked at me, and her eyes finally twinkled with excitement. You're right. You're the most powerful she-wolf I've ever known. I can't wait for that bastard Hayden's reaction when he knows you are the alpha of the second strongest pack. She giggled. All right, I'm feeling better now. My fever has subsided, and my injuries have all healed. I want to be discharged and return to the Red Claw Pack to tell Hayden of my decision, I told her. Okay, stay here. I'll get the paperwork done, she said and went out to help with my discharge paper. I smiled as I looked at her back. I was lucky to have a friend like Olivia. Once alone at the ward, I sighed again. Lexi, did you hear what Olivia said? I asked my wife. Should I really break the maid bond with Hayden? Of course you should. He's a bastard, Lexi growled. But you heard what Olivia said. The process might break you. It wasn't that I didn't want to break with my maid bond, but I was thinking about Lexi. Don't worry about me, Charlotte. Even if I break, I'll get back up in no time, Lexi assured me. Are you sure? I asked her. I didn't want her to break because of me. Positive, and don't think of not breaking up with Hayden, she growled again. Okay then, we'll go through the heartbreak together, I told her. Of course we will. Hayden and his damn wolf won't be able to break us, Lexi snorted arrogantly, which made me laugh, and my heart felt lighter. After some time, Olivia came back with the nurse. The nurse took off the needle in my hand, and I was ready to be discharged. Char, do you need me to drive you to the Red Claw Pack? Olivia asked with concern. I rubbed her head and smiled. No, this is something that I must do alone. Okay, remember to contact me if they make it difficult for you, Olivia said. I laughed again. Olivia was too cute. She kept worrying about me, though it was nice to be cared for, but I didn't need it this time. Remember, I don't love Hayden anymore, and I'm an alpha. If they do something to me, I'll fight back. I reminded her and winked. Finally, Olivia sighed with relief and smiled brightly. You're right. If they bully you, just show them your true self. We chatted as we went to the car park and parted ways. I got into a cheap black car I had bought to conceal my true wealth, and showed Hayden that I didn't become his maid for his money, and drove to the Red Claw Pack. The moment I got off the car, I felt many eyes looking at me. I even heard them ridiculing me. Look at her. How could she be so shameless to return to the pack? She really has no shame. She's a murderer, yet she still has the nerve to appear here. Does she think she's still fit to be the Luna of the pack? Do you think she's here to beg Hayden and apologize to Sophia? She really has thick skin. And there were many other degrading words pointed at me as I walked straight to Hayden's study. I couldn't care less about what they were saying. My heart had been cold and devoid of any emotions ever since Hayden forced me to kneel and admit my mistakes. Once I arrived at Hayden's study, I didn't even bother to knock. I opened the door immediately and met Hayden and Noah's surprised looks. Hayden sneered and was about to say something, but I beat him to it. I'll wait for you tomorrow night when the moon rises at the altar of the moon goddess to go through the ceremony of terminating our maid bond. Don't forget to draft the divorce agreement. I don't need any compensation from you. I just want to not be mated or married to you anymore. I want to be free from you and the Red Claw Pack. I told him coldly and laughed without giving him a chance to talk back. Chapter 6. She was just pretending. Hayden's point of view. I watched Charlotte's back as she walked out of my study and fell into silence. I was stunned, and it took me quite a while to register what just happened. Charlotte had just walked in, spoke her mind, and left in less than 10 seconds. And what did she say? She was going to wait for me tomorrow night when the moon rises at the moon goddess altar to break our maid bond. And she didn't want anything from our divorce? I sneered. She was just an orphan who had no one and nothing, and had been dependent on me for the last 3 years. Everything she had was given by me or bought with the money I gave her. What gave her the confidence to say that she didn't want any compensation for our divorce? And all she wanted was to be free of me and the Red Claw Pack. How ridiculous of her. Suddenly, I heard Noah clear his throat. Alpha, shall I ask someone to pack Luna's things and prepare for tomorrow night's ceremony? I looked at him as if he was a clown. Did he really believe that Charlotte would have the heart to go through the ceremony and break our maid bond? Charlotte had loved me with all her heart since we first met. She was timid, meek, and shy, and always tried her best to make me happy. There was no way for her to be able to terminate our mateship. Do you believe she would be able to leave me? I asked with a raised eyebrow. Noah didn't answer my question, but it looked like he believed her. Forget it, I waved my hand. Don't bother with it. She wouldn't have the courage to break off her relationship with me. But she seemed to have made up her mind and seemed resolute about her decision, Noah said. I rolled my eyes. She's just pretending and throwing a tantrum because I made her kneel and ask her to apologize. If you said so, he said before leaving me alone. His words irked me. What did he mean by if I said so? Hayden, this is all your fault. My wolf, Red, suddenly growled. And why is this my fault? I asked lightly. You were the one who first mentioned the issue. Red kept growling. I snorted. You still want someone as vicious as her to be your mate? I don't believe she did it, Red said. Red was very protective of our mate. Well, it was in his nature to do so. You don't believe it? Many people saw what happened, and Sophia said it herself. I snorted. And you believe Sophia? Red asked. What? You think she jumped off the cliff by herself? Why would she do that? She loved her baby. Why would she endanger herself and kill her baby? I tried to make Red see the truth and not be biased. Charlotte was right. You treated your mate in contempt, yet you treated someone else lovingly. You even trusted Sophia more than your own mate. It isn't a wonder she's adamant about breaking the mate bond. But Hayden, if you break your mate bond, it will hurt you. And I won't talk to you anymore. Red growled and threatened me. At the mention of how terminating the mateship would hurt me, I became restless. I knew breaking the mate bond was different than rejection. It would hurt like hell, but I still didn't believe Charlotte would be brave enough to separate herself from me. Red, you know why I have to protect Sophia? I sighed and changed the subject. Red snorted but didn't say anything. Sophia is my brother's widow. You know how much I love my brother. He was the one person closest to me. He stood up for me many times when I was bullied. Taking care of his widow, Sophia, is the least I could do for him, now that he's no longer around. I reminded Red. And do you think that justified your action of treating your mate indifferently? I massaged my temple because of the headache coming from Red's question. You know why I claimed Charlotte as my mate? I told him. Just because you don't love her doesn't mean you can treat her coldly. Red snorted. I always treated her nicely. She was never short of anything all this time. I reminded him. You're the only alpha who treated another she-wolf better than your own mate, Red growled. Enough, Red. The only reason I took her as my mate was to make the pack stronger. And also because you wanted me to. So shut your mouth, and when you know it was partly because of you. I had no patience to talk to him anymore. Was it wrong for me to take a mate to strengthen myself and the pack? An alpha and a pack without a Luna would get weaker and weaker. And that wasn't something I wanted. My goal was to make my pack strong, and I had achieved it. The Red Claw pack was now the third strongest pack in the whole world. Just remember, if you sever the mate bond with Charlotte, I'll never speak to you again. He growled one last time before sulking in the corner of my mind. I leaned back on my chair and thought about Charlotte's words again. Noah was right. She seemed committed in breaking our mate bond. Her indifference and cold gaze somewhat made me feel uncomfortable. As I was thinking about it, my gaze fell on a framed photo on my desk. It was a wedding photo of me and Charlotte. I didn't want to put it there, but Charlotte begged me. So I put it there just to stop dealing with her constant annoying begging. In the photo, I was looking straight at the camera coldly, while Charlotte was looking at me with a loving gaze and smile. I snorted again. There was no way she could go through the ceremony tomorrow. She loved me too much to leave me. Suddenly, I heard a knock on the door. "Come in," I said, and Sophia appeared. "Hayden, I bring coffee for you," she said softly. I stood up and went to her. "Sophia, you've just recovered. You don't have to do this," I told her gently. "This is nothing. I just don't want to see you tire yourself out," she said in her soft voice. Sophia was gentle, elegant, soft and beautiful. It wasn't a wonder my brother fell for her. With her temperament and appearance, she was the perfect example of a woman who needed to be protected. "Thank you." I took the cup of coffee from her and placed it on the desk. "Are you busy?" she asked and looked at me with a gentle gaze. "Yeah, I have tons of paperwork to do," I told her. "All right, I'll let you get back to it. Don't work too hard," she reminded me and left. I returned to my seat and took a sip of the coffee, but then put the cup back on the desk. The coffee didn't taste as good as what Charlotte used to make for me, I thought. I frowned. What the heck was I thinking? I never cared about it before. Why did I think about her now? It must be because she threatened me to break the mate bond. Let's see if she could still pretend tomorrow. I sneered again. Charlotte's point of view. The moment I said those words and left Hayden, I felt a mixture of emotions: sadness, heartbreak, and pain. Yet there was also a rare sense of relief. As I left the Red Claw pack, I saw a familiar figure standing not too far from me, as if he was waiting for me. The closer I got to the figure, I realized it was my dad. My memories of what I had done to him came back to me in a rush. I stubbornly left him and my pack for Hayden, and cut off my ties with him for 3 whole years. But despite his objections, there he was waiting for me. "Charlotte, my good daughter," he said gently and opened up his arms. Looking at him still accepting me even though I had been a bad daughter to him, I felt all the grievances and resentment I had experienced explode, and all my defenses crumbled down. I ran the short distance separating us and threw myself at him. "Dad," I sobbed. Chapter 7. Adulting Dad. Charlotte's point of view. Feeling the familiar warmth of my dad's embrace. My tears fell hard from my eyes like a dam that just broke. "Dad," I sobbed brokenly. There, Dad is here now. Everything will be fine. Dad won't allow anyone to make you sad anymore," my dad said gently as he stroked my back. Hearing his words, I broke down even further. I thought he would blame me for going against him 3 years ago. But no, he was still the same dad who doted on me so much. "Let's go home first, little Lottie." He used the nickname he had called me since I was small. I nodded while still being enveloped by his strong arms, and he led me toward his car. Suddenly, I remembered that I had driven here and stopped him from pulling me to his car. "Dad, I drove here." I pointed embarrassedly to the old black car not far away from where we stood. He looked at that car I was pointing at and became livid. He actually dared to give my daughter that piece of junk? "No, Dad, I was the one who chose it. I didn't want him to think I was only with him for his wealth." I quickly explained, but then I felt my words were wrong. It sounded like I was defending Hayden. Would Dad get mad? My dad scrutinized me with his black eyes and said, "It was his loss for leaving such a precious princess like you." I sighed in relief, and my mood was lifted when I heard my dad's words. For him, I would always be his little girl who needed protection. "Just leave that junk here. It's not suitable for you," he said, pulling me toward a black Rolls-Royce without giving a chance to say no. Not that I would say no to sitting in a Rolls-Royce. To be honest, I kinda missed living a luxurious life. Sitting in the Rolls-Royce, I closed my eyes and enjoyed the sensation. The soft leather seat, the smell of expensive leather, and the smooth way the Rolls-Royce glided across the road were enough to lift the corners of my lips into a smile. We reached the Moon Crest Pack, and my dad led me to his study straight away. He sat behind his desk while I sat opposite him. He looked at me calmly, but his calm gaze made me feel like a student being called into the principal's office for doing something bad. I looked down and fiddled with my fingers, not daring to look at him. "Tell me what you've been through the past 3 years, Lottie," he said in a voice that brooked no argument. My head snapped up at his words. I knew he would ask me this question, and I was prepared for it. But I was still hesitant to tell him when the time came. He raised an eyebrow at me, and I knew I had no other choice but to tell him. I told him everything that had happened, from the moment I was claimed and married to Hayden, to the moment when I decided to break the mate bond with him. I saw my dad's face darkened with each word I spoke, and the moment I finished, his face turned so ugly, which made my heart thump from fear. Would he blame me for being stupid? "Dad, I was about to apologize to him, but he cut me off." "How dare they treat you like that?" he growled, and I flinched. "That alpha, his mistress, sister, and pack, I would destroy them all." Seeing how furious he was, I quickly stood up, rounded the table, stood behind him, and began kneading his shoulders to calm him down. "Dad, I'm okay now. I have decided to terminate my mate bond with him. And now I'm back. They won't be able to do anything to me because you will protect me." I was so glad he didn't blame me and still took my side. I felt his anger begin subsiding and his body relaxing. "You're right," he nodded. "Now that you're back, you'll be treated the way you should be, like a princess." His words made me smile. "Yes, Daddy is the best." He chuckled, stood up, and hugged me. "I'm sorry that you have to go through all those horrible experiences. And I'm sorry that I wasn't there for you," he said with a sad voice and a guilty expression. Looking at him like that made me want to cry again. "Dad, it wasn't your fault. I was the one who stupidly chose to marry him and stayed with him, even though they treated me horribly. My dad scowled and flicked my forehead. Yes, you were stupid to want to be hurt repeatedly. I rubbed my forehead and pouted. He smiled and rubbed my head doubtingly. But now you have a clear mind. I'm glad you've decided to leave him. He doesn't deserve you. And from now on, my little Lottie will be doted and pampered. Dad won't let anyone hurt you anymore. I hugged him hard with a huge grin and praised him again. Thank you, Daddy. You're the best. He chuckled and hugged me back. I loved my dad so much. Now I really felt stupid for leaving him and the pack for Hayden 3 years ago. Lottie, Dad called me in a serious tone. I looked at him and saw that his expression was serious too. Do you need Daddy's help in taking revenge? I can wage war between our pack and his. He won't be able to win against us. Even though I was grateful to my dad for daunting on me so much, to the point he wanted to eradicate the Red Claw pack, I still refused his suggestion. No need, Dad. I don't want anything to do with him anymore. Just let him be with Sophia. After breaking the maid bond tomorrow, I'll treat him as a stranger, I said firmly. But there was a trace of bitterness and sadness in my heart. It seemed to say the words breaking the maid bond and thinking of Hayden with Sophia would still affect me. That's my good daughter. Just forget him and treat them like strangers. Don't let them affect you anymore. Dad smiled doubtingly at me. I will. Don't worry, Dad. Even though I was sad to leave Hayden, I had already made up my mind to forget him and move forward. As Dad said, he didn't deserve me. Dad, I need to meet Olivia now, but I promise you that I'll prepare to take over the pack from now on. I grinned at him. His eyes lit up. He had always wanted me to take over the pack and become the first female alpha since 3 years ago. But I chose to leave and be with Hayden. Good. Just remember that Dad will always have your back, all right? If you encounter any problems, just come to Daddy, he said with a pleased expression. I will. Thank you, Dad. I'll see you later. We hugged again before I left to meet Olivia. Olivia was waiting for me outside of the pack's main house. Char? She waved when she saw me. Her innocent face and gestures immediately made me smile. Chapter 8. Prepare to take over the pack. Charlotte's point of view. I walked toward my cute friend. Have you been waiting for a long time? I rubbed her head. Nope. She shook her head and looked at me with those Bambi eyes of hers. Aren't you busy with your pack? I asked her. Olivia was also like me. She was the only daughter of the alpha of the Silent Prowlers pack. The Silent Prowlers pack was one of the smaller packs, but was still powerful. And with the backings of the Moon Crest Pack, no pack dared to attack them. No, I'm not ready to take over the pack yet. And my dad knew it, she said and smiled mischievously, making her look even more adorable. You will have to take over sooner or later, I reminded her with a tease. She pouted, and I laughed. Olivia preferred to live freely without having the responsibilities of being an alpha. She thought it wasn't fun and would be boring. Her dad most probably would ask her brother to be the alpha, since she didn't want it. Fortunately, we both had doting dads. She really was different from me. She hated the responsibilities, but I welcomed them. I always loved to take charge of everything, and that included the Moon Crest Pack. She took my hands and asked with concern, Char, do you want to have good rest today since you'll be having the ceremony tomorrow? I was so grateful for having so many people who cared for me. Thinking of her question, I flipped my hair over my shoulders and folded my hands under my breasts. Why should I rest? I had given him so much over the past 3 years. I even let his mistress and sister mistreat me, but he never appreciated my love for him. He doesn't deserve a grand farewell. I smirked with arrogance. Olivia's eyes widened, and she suddenly smiled brightly. This is the Charlotte I know. You wouldn't ever let anyone bully you. I'm so glad that you're back to your true self. I laughed. It really felt good to be confident and become myself again without the need to pretend to be weak or humble around other people. So what are you gonna do now? Olivia asked me with curiosity. What do you think? The most important thing for me right now is to learn as much as I can about the pack's matter, so I can become a great alpha for the Moon Crest Pack. I was brimming with confidence and anticipation. Suddenly, Olivia threw herself at me and looked at me with shining and dazzled eyes. Charlotte, I'm really impressed with your decision. I feel that there will be a side of you that is coming through. And when that bastard Hayden sees you, he will surely regret treating you badly all these years and severing the mate bond with the strongest female alpha. Olivia always could make me laugh. I'll make sure for him to regret everything. I smirked. You go, girl. Olivia cheered for me and supported my decisions. Thank you, Livy. I caught her with the nickname I had for her. I'm going shopping now. Do you want to come with me? Olivia asked. Nah, I'll have to pass this time. I need to learn of the pack's matter as soon as possible. I declined her offer. Great. Be the best and strongest alpha, and make him regret leaving such a powerful alpha. Olivia grinned. I laughed and bid her goodbye before returning to the pack's main house and going to my study. Dad had prepared a study for me for when I would take over the pack. Leo, where are you? I mind-linked my beta. I'm running an errand for your dad, but will arrive at the pack soon. He replied instantly. Come to my study as soon as you arrive, I instructed him. All right, he replied, and I closed our mind link. I looked around my study and found that nothing had changed. Everything remained the same as 3 years ago, and there was not even a speck of dust in the room. I smiled, thinking how my dad should have asked the Omegas to keep my study clean so I could use it anytime I returned to the pack. Every piece of furniture in my study was handpicked by me 3 years ago, before I went on holiday and met Hayden. While most of Alpha's study was dominated by dark and neutral colors, mine was different. My study wasn't dark. It had a warm feeling, with neutral earth colors and a few bold colors here and there, just how I loved it. Lottie, I heard Leo's gentle voice as he appeared in my study. Leo and I had been close friends for a long time, and he was one of the people who called me by my nickname. I observed him and saw that he had changed. No longer was he the playful man I knew 3 years ago. He had matured, and his temperament had changed. He now had a gentle yet strong aura that suited his position as my beta. Leo was a handsome man, tall, with a great body, and damn, he looked good wearing a suit. The gold-rimmed glasses perched on his tall nose added an air of sophistication to him. You've changed, I teased him. He smiled gently. I hope you like the way I look now. I laughed. I like it. You look so handsome now. His smile deepened, and a dimple appeared on his left cheek, making him look even more attractive. What can I do for you, Lottie? He asked with a gentle gaze. Help me get familiar with the pack's matters, I told him with a smile. His eyes widened for a split second before an excited expression appeared on his handsome face. Are you going to take over the pack? He asked excitedly. I replied to his question with a wicked smile. You don't know how long I've been waiting for this day to come, Lottie. He grinned. He quickly sat on the opposite side of my desk and began telling me all about the pack's matters. He naturally knew everything since he was my beta and had been helping my dad when I wasn't here. When I had questions, he would answer me patiently. With his knowledge and explanations, I began to know what was happening around the pack, and also the businesses that the pack had. We talked for a long time until nighttime, and it was time for me to have dinner and go to sleep. The next evening, I got ready for the ceremony of terminating my hardship with Hayden. I purposely dressed up in a light yellow mini summer dress that complemented my fair skin and put on light makeup. I was now no more an orphan that they knew. I was now the next alpha of the Moon Crest Pack and had turned back into my old self. As I drove toward the moon goddess altar, I felt sadness in my heart again. No matter what, I had been in love with Hayden for 3 years and dedicated my life to him. It would be strange if I didn't feel any sadness. But I hardened my heart. He didn't deserve me. I was beautiful and powerful. I didn't need to be treated badly by anyone. Chapter 9. We are now strangers. Hayden's point of view. I waited the whole day for Charlotte to come to me and begged me to forgive her and stay, but she didn't come at all. Prepare a divorce settlement, I told Noah. Give her a Maserati, the villa in the suburb, and $50 million. If she really wanted a divorce and was sure of breaking our maid bond, I had to at least compensate her for the 3 years she was married and mated to me. I didn't believe her words when she said she wanted no compensation. She had nothing. How would she survive with nothing? But was she going to divorce me and sever our mate bond? Thinking of the 3 years we spent together, all I could remember was the way her eyes lit up whenever she saw me, the way she severed my every need patiently and happily, and how much she loved me. How could she bear to part with me? Was she still pretending to play hard to get because I forced her to kneel and apologize to Sophia? But she deserved it. She was too cruel to Sophia. There was nothing going on between me and Sophia, but she got jealous. Even if she was jealous, she had no reason to try to kill Sophia or my dead brother's baby. These thoughts had occupied my mind since Charlotte asked to terminate our maid bond. Her words kept playing repeatedly in my mind like a broken record. And to be honest, I had an indescribable feeling about it. Alpha Hayden, I've been waiting more than 15 minutes for you here at the Moon Goddess altar. Don't tell me the mighty Alpha of the Red Claw Pack is going to go back on his words for divorcing and severing the mate bond with me. Suddenly, I heard Charlotte's cold voice through the mind link. Her cold voice, mocking words, and the way she called me Alpha Hayden instead of the usual Hayden annoyed and infuriated me. Was it already the time? I glanced at the clock on the wall and realized I was already 10 minutes late. I took the divorce settlement Noah had drafted and briefly glanced through it to ensure he had written down everything I had asked him to. Once I was sure, I stood up and walked toward the Moon Goddess altar. Hayden, you asshole. Red growled. Why am I the asshole? It's her who is headstrong for a divorce and unmating, I replied in irritation. If you didn't bring it up first, would she want it? Red kept growling at me. Red's words made me realize I was indeed the one who asked for it. She could kneel and apologize to Sophia instead of doing this. I snorted. She didn't do it. You're blinded by that bitch, Sophia. Red yelled at me. Say no more bad word about Sophia, and I'll put a wall between us. I ground. Even though I wasn't in love with Sophia, I wouldn't let anyone talk badly about the woman my brother loved. You are a fucking moron. You will regret this. Red yelled at me again. I ignored him and kept walking toward the moon goddess altar with the divorce agreement in my hand. When I reached my destination, I was surprised to see Charlotte. She looked different than her usual self. She looked gorgeous. She had a light yellow mini dress on. Her long black hair was curled at the end, and she had light makeup on her face. I didn't know why, but her gorgeous appearance upset me. Are you sure you want to do this? Have you thought it through? There will be no turning back once we do it, I told her, still thinking she would come to her senses. I have made my decision. As I've said before, I don't want to have anything to do with you or your pack anymore, she said firmly. My hands clenched tightly at her answer, but I could only say that it was fine if she had decided on it. I handed her the divorce paper and a pen. She read it carefully and started to cross out the written compensations, which stunned me. She really didn't want anything from me? Before I could think of anything further, I saw her sign the divorce agreement swiftly and decisively. She gave me back the paper and pen and knelt in front of the altar. I had no choice but to follow her and kneel beside her, putting the divorce agreement and pen on the ground. I saw her start to pray, and I followed suit, praying to the moon goddess and asking her to release us from our mate bond. The statue of the moon goddess glowed brightly, indicating that our prayers were answered. We both stood up and faced each other, knowing it was time for the last step, rejecting each other as mates. I pursed my lips, somehow not wanting to say those words, but Charlotte said the rejection words without hesitation. I, Charlotte Adler, Luna of the Red Claw Pack, reject you, hidden felon, Alpha of the Red Claw Pack, as my mate. Her words were clear, and her dark eyes were fixed on me, waiting for me to accept her rejection. I opened my mouth and accepted her rejection. I, hidden felon, Alpha of the Red Claw Pack, accept your rejection. Charlotte Adler, Luna of the Red Claw Pack. The moment I uttered the last word, I felt our mate bond being snapped off, accompanied by a pain so great it was unbearable. I roared, and Red howled in my mind from the excruciating pain. I heard Charlotte's agonizing cry. At the same time, my knees went weak, and I fell to the ground. My whole body was trembling, and it felt as though someone had clawed at my heart and torn all my limbs away from my body. I clutched a hand over my heart and curled my body on the ground. It hurt. It fucking hurt. It was the worst pain I had ever felt in my whole life. I felt like dying. No, feeling like dying was an underestimate. It was like my body and soul were ripped in half. Red and I couldn't stop roaring from the pain. Make it stop! Make it stop! Make it stop! I shouted in my mind. Instead of getting better, the pain intensified. Other than feeling as if my soul and body were torn apart, there was now a feeling of being burned alive. Red howled more agonizingly, and I roared louder. Damn, if this went on any longer, I felt like I would really die. Fuck, I would even welcome death over this pain. The pain lasted for long minutes. When at long last, it passed. I was panting. My whole body was shaking badly, and I was drenched in sweat. I opened my eyes to see Charlotte curled up in a fetal position on the ground. She was not in a better condition than I was. She was whimpering. Her face was bloodless, and tears were streaming down her face. I saw her body shaking and drenched in sweat, just like mine. Seeing her condition, I felt a different kind of pain in my heart, knowing that we were not mates anymore, and I was the cause of it. I gasped as another pain in my heart assaulted me again. I felt suffocated and couldn't breathe. It lasted only a few seconds, but it felt even worse than the pain from before. My body gradually stopped shaking, and I sat up, gathering my strength and regulating my breathing. I saw Charlotte move out of the corner of my eyes. Her movements were slow, and she was still trembling a little bit. She wiped away her tears, stood up, and left without even sparing me a glance. I watched everything silently and wondered how she could be so cold. How could she change so fast? She must have hooked up with another man, just like she did to me 3 years ago. That must be why she was cold and indifferent toward me now. That thought angered me. I stood up, caught up with her, and grabbed her hand. She spun around to look at me, and looking at her pale face, my anger somehow subsided a little. Hayden, we're not mates anymore. From now on, we have nothing to do with each other, and are now strangers. She spoke before I could say anything. The anger that had subsided burned in my heart again. Don't think you can walk away freely without any burden just because we're no longer mates. You still need to take responsibility for pushing Sophia off the cliff and killing her baby. I sneered. She slapped my hand away, looked at me as if I was a disgusting piece of shit, and sneered back. Don't worry, I'll let the matter end, but not with my apology. She then turned around and walked away with a straight back without saying anything else. Her fearless attitude angered me even further, and now I was glad we had severed our mate bond. Who would want to be mated to someone as cruel as her? I snorted. But I rubbed a hand over my heart to ease the lingering pain of dissolving the mate bond in my heart and body. Somehow I felt empty, and it was unsettling.